Hello friends, and welcome to my next Majora's Mask project making video. Today we are up to our 8th mask, I believe. I have had a few comments on what to do next. I am actually kind of overwhelmed with the response that this project has been getting. It's been really nice to see people that are passionate about Majora's Mask and Zelda come in and make so many suggestions, and I'm super keen to get through all the masks and hopefully you guys stick along for the ride. So from your suggestions, the next mask, my 8th mask, is now going to be Kamaro's mask. Now, this one's a little bit weird, a little bit difficult. It's basically going to be using, yes, like an Amazon mask cardboard base, but I'm going to be completely covering it and then using the foil to sculpt the little Kamaro head on top of the mask and then somehow hot glue, masking tape, attach it together. Going to use the standard things, the foil, the foam clay, everything that I've been using, and hopefully it's going to come through okay. I feel like the sculpting shouldn't be too hard for the Kamaro head. He has very distinct features and I feel like it won't be too hard to kind of shape it the way that I want, but I guess only time will tell. I'm excited to try this one out and I hope I can do it justice. I hope it turns out okay. I know with the bunny hood specifically, I had a little bit of trouble getting the ears to be held down in place when I attach the foam clay, and I'm just kind of worried that that's going to happen with the weight of the Kamaro head on top of the mask as well for this one, but I guess we'll see. So without further ado, I will let you guys get to the mask making.
Starting off a little different with this build, I wanted to make Kamaro's head first. I grabbed a bunch of foil and I started to mold it into the shapes that I wanted, and I made 3 different parts. One little bit for the base and the neck, the head itself, and I tried to squish in the features that Kamaro had on his face, and then his hair, his little ponytail on top. I had the foam mannequin on my desk as a scale reference. I know its head and face is a little bit smaller than mine, but it did give me an idea of the size that I wanted to make Kamaro's head. These were the 3 shapes that I made out of the foil. I also found a website with 3D models of all the masks, so this one came in really handy when I was making it. And the next thing I needed to do was hot glue all of the foil pieces together. I grabbed my hot glue gun and I just started gluing everything down. I also realized that he had a lot more prominent features that I couldn't really make with the foil itself, or I didn't really try to shape with the foil. So I started to use the hot glue and kind of build up on the nose, eyelids, chin, and mouth. It just made it a little bit more bumpy, a little bit more distinct, so that when I covered it in foam clay, the features should stand out a lot more. This was another trust the process kind of situation. The hot glue didn't dry in exactly the shape that I wanted, but I also knew that the foam clay would expand once it was on the head. And that was what I was kind of worried about. I didn't want the glue or foil features to get lost under the foam clay, whereas with the other masks, I actually wanted them to be a lot smoother. So I would be happy if the foam clay smoothed over. This is what it looked like when I left it to dry. It's still missing a few features, but I would come back to that later. In the meantime, it was time to start working on the base of the mask. I grabbed the cardboard Amazon base, marked where I wanted to cut off the nose, grabbed the Stanley knife and cut it off. I then wanted to cover it in masking tape because I wanted it to be a little more curved than the previous masks. I didn't cut the nose down right at the base of the mask shape. And once the masking tape was completely covered, I scrunched up and cut up some paper and stuck it through the eyes and the nose hole to give the mask a more rounded and stable shape. You'll see what I mean in a minute. The base of this mask basically looks like it doesn't have a nose, eyes, mouth, no facial features, but is still eerily the shape of a face. So I wanted that kind of rounded shape across the front, and the paper and the masking tape help cover that. I did another layer of masking tape on top, and once I was happy with the shape, I started to cover in foam clay. In contrast to the Kamaro head, I wanted this part to dry as smooth as possible. So I tried to use as little foam clay as I could, but to completely cover it anyway, then went over with water to smooth it all out so it would dry nicely. This took me a bit of time and I was sitting near the aircon, so it did make it harder, but I did get a finish I was kind of happy with. By the time I finished coating the base of the mask, the Kamaro head was all dry. I did leave it out in the sun to help. The next thing that I wanted to do was cover up anything that might have been protruding through, any foil, and then start working on the facial features a bit more. Just wanted to make them stand out and define them a little bit more. Luckily, Alka was working behind me, so I used his laptop as well to just keep referencing the facial features. And I expanded on his eyelids, his nose, his lips, and his ears. The ears weren't as rounded as I would have liked, and I did struggle with them a little bit, but I do think I was pretty happy with how they turned out in the end. This is what it looked like once I had placed all the features on it. I even put more foam clay around the ponytail, and then I took it outside to dry. Later that day, and all of the things were a little bit more dry, I brought them back inside so I could combine them. I was actually pretty happy with how creepy the Kamaro head was looking at this point as well, and I was just basically trusting the process and hoping it would come together completely. The first thing that I tried was hot glue, of course, but because of the weight of the Kamaro head, it wasn't sticking as much as I would have liked. The next thing that I wanted to do was try the masking tape. I ripped off a whole bunch of pieces of masking tape and started to stick down from the base of the Kamaro head onto the mask. It was holding a lot better, and I was going to trust the foam clay to cover the rest of it basically. And you guessed it, the next thing that I did was start to cover that area in foam clay. It didn't take a whole lot of time to get done, and I was just watching videos in between, and I also didn't need a whole lot of water to smooth this down, thankfully. My main concern was going all the way up Kamaro's neck and making sure that was nice and tidy around the joining area, and then the foam clay around the bottom of the Kamaro head where it met the mask. The Kamaro mask also does have some staples around the base of the head where it connects to the mask, so that was the next thing I wanted to tackle. But first I wanted to tie on the elastic so I could put it on the mannequin head and start forming those staples. Looking back, I did make them a little bit big. There are a couple of things actually with the mask that, looking back, I should have changed, but I like the look of them. It just doesn't look as accurate to the game with the big staples. I also used the end of a paintbrush to try and make them as square as possible, and the next day it was all dry. I didn't record the beginning of me painting the mask, mainly because I was on call with my sisters and I used my phone to record the time lapse, so I couldn't actually record it. But this is me starting to work on painting Kamaro's head. The hardest part probably with this painting was trying to match Kamaro's skin tone to the game. In a few different photos and assets from the game, he has a very pale grayish skin tone. In others, he looks a little bit more yellow hued. And then sometimes you'll find photos where he actually has some pink undertone. So it was very hard for me to get a shade that I was actually happy with. My first priority was to mix up a grey for the staples and use the beige skin tone that I had for the base of the mask. Then slowly do multiple different layers of skin tones for Kamaro himself. I originally started with one that had yellow undertones, but it looked a little bit rough. So then I tried one with more of a pinky beige undertone, and it just didn't look right, before going over with a third coat of paint, which was more of a white grey. Even with the third coat of paint, the other layers underneath still shone through. So it kind of mixed all of the yellow, pink, and grey hues, resulting in a skin tone that I was happy with. I also know with color theory, when I paint the other details of the mask, like the facial features and his hair, it will make the skin tone look slightly different. So again, I was just trusting the process. I had a bright green paint that I used for the hair, and I also mixed up a darker green so I could put some line and some depth into the hair. And I also put some red and pink paint down the bottom of the Kamaro head where the staples are for the blood and flesh which are sewn onto the mask base. And this is what it looked like with all of the base colors. I then needed to work on the finer details, adding in some black outlines for the staples and the facial features. And I was originally going to use paint, but I realized I had some markers that I haven't used in years, and I felt as though they were pretty much perfect for this project. I used the black marker to give an outline to the staples, making sure they were covered all the way around and making them look a little bit more square. I then grabbed a dark grey. For the facial features, I didn't want to use the black because I didn't want it to be too harsh. And then I filled in the eyes, nostrils, and mouth, as well as adding some details to the ears. After the facial features were done, I used a red marker to just add a little bit more colouring to the blood near the staples. And then I had a light green marker that I used to add some more shade to the hair and the chin beard, or goatee, whatever you want to call it, before outlining that as well. After all the features were covered with the marker, I still felt as though it was kind of missing something. Because Kamaro has some distinct facial features, the mask felt like it needed a little extra shading. So like the Bremen mask, I grabbed a makeup brush and some old eyeshadow and started brushing and contouring around the neck, cheeks, eyes, mouth, ears, and hairband. I grabbed a tissue and wiped off any excess eyeshadow, and then I was pretty happy with the final result. Like I said, I think the staples were too big and the Kamaro face was too wide, but apart from that, I was really happy with how it turned out. Please let me know if you like how Kamaro's mask turned out. Feel free to subscribe if you want to follow the project, and let me know in the comments which mask you would like to see next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!